Welcome back to 100 Lies the God Culture teaches about the Philippines. Today's lie concerns the Santa Cruz Junk shipwreck which was found off the coast of Zambales. Tim says the ship is of Philippine design and is a Philippine junk. Of course, that is pure junk. In his book The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, Tim writes,
however, there is a shipwreck of what appears to be a returning Philippine-built junk dating prior to the Spanish. Due to the extent of the vessel's preservation, the archaeologists have also been able to understand how the ship was loaded and what kind of goods were stored in its different compartments. Clear evidence that this ship was built in the Philippines. The renowned French archaeologist says the evidence is clear this was built in the Philippines even according to the way the ship was loaded. Unfortunately, the National Museum of the Philippines suggested this as a Thai ship based largely on Thai artifacts found in the lower cargo holds and the construction, both speculation easily challenged. However, that is the published consensus in suggestion. The Santa Cruz Junk discovered in 2001 off of Zambales is documented to the 1400s.
In a now deleted comment on one of his videos, Tim elaborates further, claiming marine archaeologist Frank Goddio said the Santa Cruz is of Philippine design and a Philippine junk.
A perfect example we cover in The Search for King Solomon's Treasure is the junk ship found off the coast of Zambales dating to the 1400s. The French marine archaeologist who was brought in to study and assess the ship determined it was of Philippine design and a Philippine junk. Then, the National Museum idiot got a hold of these obvious, proven findings wrapped in a bow as one of the greatest finds in Philippine history and published in a science journal that the ship was a Thai ship because he is part of those who think only shame belongs to the Philippines, uneducated in the slightest of ancient history as are most.
None of that is true. The French marine archaeologist, Frank Goddio, never said the junk was of Philippine design and a Philippine junk. That is pure junk. What he actually said is the junk is of Chinese design and was likely built by a Chinese community in the Philippines because it was made of wood found in the Philippines and shipbuilding at that time was forbidden by the Ming dynasty.
The junk was also Chinese in its construction, with a hull shaped as a piece of split bamboo, transverse bulkheads with a compartmented hold serving as frame, hull planks joined with iron nails, but also, following the traditional hybrid southern China Sea style, with the keel playing an essential structural role, and using timber of tropical origin. All the wood species used in the construction of the Santa Cruz are found in the Philippine archipelago and most of the islands in the South China Sea, but not in China. The merchants who had chartered it therefore could not belong to the provinces of Fujian and Guangdong, sailing on ships built in China. The essentially Chinese architecture seems to rule out the possibility that it was chartered by the peoples of Southeast Asia, very active on the eastern route between Malacca and Manila Bay, but who sailed on craft built with local traditional techniques. Ultimately, given the assumed departure port of the ship, wrecked off the coast of Luzon, and the fact that its ceramics all date from a period when the prohibition to build ships and trade abroad was strictly applied by the Ming, it is highly unlikely that the ship and its charterers were of continental origin. It is much more likely that they belonged to a Chinese community located in the commercial towns of the archipelago. Certainly made in collaboration with local shipbuilders, the junk benefited from their particular expertise.
The problem is Tim did not read the whole paper. He stopped at the part he liked and went no further. Tim's citation of Goddio is found on page 134 of his source book. Tim appends a rather interesting note to this citation.
Archaeologist Goddio above writes that there was clear evidence that this ship was built in the Philippines. He could be wrong, yet he continues to publish this 19 years later on his website, indicating he did not see evidence which changed this. Perhaps, we have not examined these, but this is worth further research. This is a discipline which typically sticks in its paradigm and interprets only based on such paradigm. This is how they lost Ophir and cannot find it, nor will they ever until one comes along outside of the box and thinks things through outside of such false paradigms. Good news, that someone is here.
Tim says outright he has not even fully examined the case of the Santa Cruz or the Lena Shoal junks. Then, after saying these archaeologists operate within a false paradigm and someone is needed to think outside of the box, with an air of pride he proclaims,
good news, that someone is here.
How ridiculous. What is needed is not someone who thinks outside the box, but someone who can actually take the time to research everything related to his thesis and someone who actually reads through the papers he cites. Tim is not that person. He reads and quotes selectively and does not bother to thoroughly research anything. We see this time and again, which is why I am convinced there is no God culture team. The fact is, French marine archaeologist Frank Goddio says the Santa Cruz Junk is of Chinese design. Though it was likely built in the Philippines, it was not built by natives but by a Chinese community located in the Philippines. It is not only more bad research but one more lie about the Philippines taught by Timothy Jay Schwab, who is the God culture.